Welcome back to the AI influencer section. Really and truly, what we're going to go through is the benefits of having the AI influencers. Some are more obvious than others, and then some are definitely things that people don't talk about much. And we'll also talk about the cons, which is very important too, because again, this is a business, right? And we have to treat it as such. We need to know the pros and cons so that we can obviously have some possible solutions, and at least consider these things subconsciously, so along the way we can start to see again like solutions and ways we can overcome, become better, and stand out. So without further ado, we're going to go through this section, the true benefits of AI influencers. Now of course there's the obvious one. It's a 24/7 content engine. What does that mean? It basically means that it's not like a normal influencer, where you technically have to wait until, in terms of turnaround, you have to wait until the content comes to you and then revise the content and then possibly suggest changes. And you're in control of the script, you're in control of the tonality, you're in control of the emotions. All of these things you're in control of, and you literally can create content at any time of the day and be pushing and publishing until you find something that works and find something that it genuinely helps, your business substantially. Now the great thing about this, again, because we're thinking about it as a business, which means data and numbers and the logical side has to be at play as well. And the good thing about this is that you can do a lot of testing. Now, if you haven't gone through the ad section as yet, don't worry, it's there. And in there, you'll see and you'll hear a lot about the testing phase, which is probably the most important thing you will do. And that applies to this as well. You can be testing different influencers, testing different ethnicities, sorry, testing different tonalities and deliveries and avatars, and then see again which one works. The same thing to do with when you're choosing your niche, right? You don't have to stick with one niche, right? Everyone says, yeah, niche down, niche down, niche down. But long before you niche down, you have to know, again, what the market wants and delivering value in that marketplace and becoming an authority to then know, in terms of profitability and scalability, if this makes sense before you niche down, right? And that's what persons aren't telling you. Don't just randomly choose a niche and stick with it. No, no, no. Choose multiple niches, multiple avatars, multiple testing variables. Detach yourself from them, right? And then just see what the data says. Sit back, let the posts, let the ads, let the sales tell you, and the returns tell you where you should be spending your time, right? So it's a 24/7 content engine. Number two, it's cost efficient over time. Now, I can tell you firsthand that I literally, as a digital marketer, as a content creator, as a business owner in the world that we're in now, you can't afford not to be creating content, right? We can all agree on that. Now, the cost efficient side of it is that if you go to any studio, right, to do any shooting or even outside shoots, right, videographer is one thing you have to consider, right? Depending on the brand story and what you're trying to do, you may need to consider maybe a makeup artist as well, right? Someone on set. Depending on where you're going, the videographer may need an assistant, right? It may need certain equipment. Maybe you need to rent equipment, even on that side of things. So you may not have a videographer, but you may need to rent equipment, right? Or rent a studio, or rent a space, and it can go on and on and on, right? In terms of what needs to be done to really pull this together. Now, we could even go as far to say, obviously you want to look your best, right? For ladies, that means hair, nails, makeup, and it can go on, right? And again, that just lets us know that, remember, in the instance of the AI twin, you just have to basically film one video, right? One video, right? And that is it. And you can have so many variations of that video now without you having to, again, be down behind the camera and be paying for the studio and paying for the rentals and paying for this and paying. Each time you have to pay, right? Because everything and everyone is in business. So, money has to be made, persons have to be paid. That's fine. But it will be way more cost efficient over time, I can tell you that without a doubt. If done properly, right? Because this is obviously on the other end of things, which is looking at professionalism and stuff like that. There are different ways you can do it, but this is just on that end where again money has to be spent. Over time, it's very cost efficient. I can tell you that without a doubt. Even though in some cases we're looking at the fact that again, you may have to rent a studio. Looking at the cost between renting the studio once just to make sure you get the base or the input video, yes, it will take some money. Hey, right? Hands up. I'll say that. Same thing to do with the tools, right? There are a lot of tools that I would suggest, right? In terms of a tool stack. And of course, it comes at a cost as well. But again, over time, what you would have had to pay for production costs, and then let's not even consider the editor, right? Changes to that video, changes to this, changes to that, maybe even doing like a video sales letter, that alone, right? Those things take time and they take money, and you're actually compressing that substantially with what we're doing here. So cost efficient over time. Now the global reach, like this is a beautiful thing, right? Because you can scale up by getting into different territories and by using different languages. Beautiful thing to do. This goes for even if you were to sell, info products, or you want to sell a course. You can literally have your AI avatar do the speaking for you, and again change the language, and we'll show you how to do all these things. But it's a beautiful position to be in where you can scale up and you know what to expand. One of the ways to scale is obviously expanding your audience, right? Is going to be one of them. And another way is actually going to be expanding your creative efforts, which is a major way of doing it. And thankfully, you can literally do that with the AI avatars, right? So you can see how the benefits are stacking up. But we won't go as far to say that's only beneficial. Of course, that's why I said we're going to kind of balance it all out, the pros and cons, because I want to be realistic. There are a lot of people that are just like, yeah, you can make money, you can make money, you can make money. You can get a whole lot of views, you can go viral, you can go viral. But how about the other things, right? Let's consider everything. And this is not to scare you away. This is, again, so that you have a realistic view of this. And we want to treat this as business owners. When you have that mindset and that mentality, again, you will solve certain problems faster than other persons will, because again, they're looking at it from this is a get rich quick and we need to just throw random stuff out there. No, this is a system that we're building, and a system that can pay you in the short and the long run. Now, it's emotionally programmable, right? So this is another benefit as well, which just means obviously these avatars don't come with emotions, and it's all up to you. You want them sad, you want them happy, you want them excited, you want them to have like this mysterious feel, you want them to, right? So you are in control of that, and I think that's a beautiful thing to have. But it really is a benefit and a pro and a con, because you yourself have to be very much in tune, not necessarily with your emotions, that would be great, but more so with your creative side. Because this will get, I don't want to say saturated, but a lot of people will pick up on this, right? Because as you could see, as we spoke about in the previous video, the trend is there, right? The demand is there. That means that people will match it, right? At some point, we will match it. So being able to know which emotions you want to put in, and figure out ways to make this as natural as possible, and figure out ways to stand out as well, is going to be very important. And it does come down to like your creativity and like being able to program the right emotion with what you're delivering. So that's why I said we're treating it as a business, because it's very important, again, to make sure that we're matching up some of the right things, which we'll talk about as well. Tonality and emotions in the script and all those things, right? It's very, very important. And we'll talk about that as well. So another benefit would be the infinite branding opportunities. I mean, at this point, I'm sure your creative juices are going. And we'll talk about this as well, opening up on the niches and the opportunities, and how far this can go. Branding opportunities alone, we're looking at the fact that you can create a whole influencer and actually have brand deals coming in, right, as well, depending on how well you do it. And I've literally seen influencers that have been again doing all of these brand deals. Another one would be you can make it into an actual character in itself, kind of like a copyright character, kind of like a Mickey Mouse, if you want to call it that, which comes with its own opportunities. So for instance, I've seen this talking penguin on TikTok. Very clear that it's AI, right? Talking, singing penguin. Very clear that it's AI. However, the market is for kids. So very, very genius market. And the way that they're doing it, and I believe doing education through the singing and these short videos, is essentially what would have been like the Baby Shark, but of TikTok. Very, very smart play. And of course, what they did is they would have moved on to, not moved on, but they would have included and expanded into having their own product now, right? So they're looking at shirts with the penguin, and I believe a toy may be coming as well. And granted, they have 4 million TikTok followers. So just the views alone will pay them monthly, no doubt about that. But again, we're looking at the infinite branding opportunities, which means now again they could have partnerships with some kid brands. Okay, cool. They now have the toy. If it's not out as yet, they can create a toy, right? A plush toy maybe. All right, cool. Then we also have the shirts as well. Cool. And it can go on and on and on, right? So that's infinite branding opportunities. I mean, in some cases, you're looking at things again like subscription models as well, exclusive subscription models. All sort of things can be done. And again, we'll definitely expand on those because that's pretty important. And then we have easy licensing and franchising, right? So again, making it into a full-on brand, so that when persons see this particular avatar, let's assume it's one of the animal avatars, for instance, persons know, okay, this is the brand. If you want to franchise as well, at least you've built a following now that you can. And then again, you can probably have a partnership with, again, a toy company or certain companies that again, like, you can kind of franchise and create a partnership that just makes it easy in terms of licensing and growing and expanding, right? So those are just some of the pros right now. And what we're going to deal with right now is going to be the cons, so that we can have a realistic view of where this can go. But again, the cons do not outweigh, in my opinion, the pros. In fact, what they do, if you're thinking about it like a business, is it just again opens opportunity for how you can stand out, right? And how you can become better than everyone else and really make this into a sustainable brand and business and product, right? That brings in reliable, predictable income. So the cons, no one tells you this, right? So number one is low emotional resonance, at first. So speaks for itself. Right now, we're still, again, it's a pretty new era that we're getting into as just human beings, right? The human race. And the trust factor is something that's still being built. It is your responsibility, right, to make sure that again the connection is there and there's a reason to trust that brand, right, or trust this avatar, or trust this AI twin that you've built. And that's why, like, we spent a lot of time playing around with how persons how the AI twins specifically will kind of, sorry about that, my alarm. But yeah, how the AI twins will specifically have really, 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 really good lip sync, right? Because if you're cloning yourself, I mean, you might as well do it to the best of your ability, and hopefully persons won't be able to, or very few persons will be able to kind of tell the difference based on what we're doing. And from what I've seen so far, at the time of recording this, there are persons who are going viral, persons who have ran a brand, an entire brand with just being AI, an AI version of themselves. And what I've seen so far is that we probably have some of the best lip syncing solutions that I've seen so far, and that's not a toot my horn, but you'll see for yourself. Some of the solutions we do have at the time of recording this, and I'm certain that it will just get better. So yeah, so low emotional resonance at first, and that's granted. It's all on you to really build that emotion. Or connect with those emotions, and most importantly build that trust. That's the number one thing, and that's where we spent a lot of time on that, which kind of goes into this next point: no built-in trust or authority, which just basically means, of course, it's AI, and even if it's an AI avatar or animal, you got to give them a reason to trust you, right? Or build authority in this case. So authority obviously would be, let's say I have an AI twin of myself. I'm obviously a digital marketer. Maybe I want to talk about and teach digital marketing trends and tips and so forth. I got to be really good, right? The value that I'm giving has to literally kind of reframe minds, right? And give them something, genuinely give them something of value that they probably haven't seen as yet, or has been spoken about or raised in a different way, right? And that's authority. I mean, if you do that, persons aren't going to really study the fact that's a AI twin unless it's just horrible, right? No built-in trust. Again, this is just from the fact that, like, if you're creating an avatar now, right? So let's say one of the animals, there's no trust there, right? Or you're building like a avatar that's not you. That's a really good example. What's the reason to trust that avatar? And it kind of goes back to, again, like being in tune with your emotions and connecting emotions well with the avatar and all these things. Very, very important, right? So you'll see like things already start to connect, even from the pros and the cons, and even in some of the ways that we're going to teach you how to stand out, you would see that they're all connected, which is a beautiful thing to see in business, because it gets very clear cut that, okay, cool, these are the things you need to do. This is something to keep in mind, and this is something to consider every single time. That is going to help you to generally, one, be consistent, two, build that trust and that authority, and three, build a scalable, well thought out brand. So that is number two. Number three is heavily dependent on human creative direction. Now, I don't know about you, but there have been studies recently that clearly show there is a decline in just thinking overall. At the time of recording this, there's literally a huge decline in just thinking overall since ChatGPT came out. Was that the whole idea and the hopes of the elites and so forth? That's a whole other conspiracy theory and conversation for another time. However, there is a clear decline, right? And because of that decline, there's also an incline or increase in dementia as well, all right? So what that says to me is, one, we have to obviously, in terms of standing out and just going forward and growing and building something like this, we cannot just use ChatGPT. We can't just use AI. We can't just, yes, it's an AI avatar. Okay, cool. Fine. Great. But as you move forward, we want that, again, because it's a legit business, you want to think about it from the fact of, okay, you want to keep your brain on, because opportunities will continue to arise in this industry. And if you start to do well, you need to be able to shift and pivot quickly. The only way you can do that is by staying on top of your game with the avatars and with AI on a whole, and keep your creative juices going, right? And to even be creative, again, your brain itself has to be on, right? Obviously, right? And I think this is where persons will really start to stand out, right? So, for instance, we have like the dog podcast, right? For instance, right? And which is something that we talk about later in the course and how to build that and stuff like that. But it's something that's trending. Cool. What I figured out is that when I was doing a test run, right, with the dog jokes, so it's basically a podcast with a dog and a co-host. Usually they're laughing, making jokes about humans. Ironic, right? And what I figured out about so many jokes, seeing that I was just doing a test run, I used ChatGPT, right? And I figured out that literally most of the jokes come from ChatGPT. I have watched some, I've laughed at some, cool. When I was building it out now, I realized that, okay, cool, that's interesting, because I just saw this joke, or I saw this joke last night, I think I heard this one before, and I said, okay, cool. So even that in its, and it's got millions of views, right? And it's steadily growing. But it's just funny that you can see, okay, well, it clearly used ChatGPT, right? So we're lacking the creative direction. And for those who are creatives, right, you're going to have a time with this, right? Because you can create almost anything. Like persons aren't thinking about series, and persons aren't thinking about, like I've seen something recently with the basically the AI of Netflix, right? Where everything on this particular streaming platform that's coming is basically created by AI. Cartoons and this and that and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, that's what we're talking about. Because now you're taking this, an idea like this, and not turning it into just a one-off thing. No. You're taking advantage of the attention economy, and you're going full on with it and really building something that people already love. Netflix, cool. And then we're tying it with lovable characters and so forth by using AI and building something else. So it's heavily dependent on creative direction. So if you aren't creative, that's fine. But consider the fact that you always have to stand out. There's no right and wrong, especially when you're beginning, and there's no right and wrong until you get data. But don't let the data overwhelm you. Feel free to, look at what you already do and already consume and already watch, and what makes you laugh and what makes you feel away, and start thinking from there outwardly, because being creative is the most important thing. Let's not lose that. Yeah. So that's number 3. Number 4, platform bias and limitations. So this just basically means there are some platforms that, they haven't gone around to AI as yet. I'm being comfortable with AI. Even with some ads, right? When you're running on Facebook, there are some limitations, but we'll show you how to get over those, of course. But keep in mind that it is still new. These platforms, I do believe, will accept AI, right? And that's the window that we're in. We're seeing a lot of persons accepting AI. But again, it's best if the platform can't even pick up its AI is one way if you're doing the AI twin. And then the other way as well will be just considering the fact that the content has to be good. Like it just has to be good. You don't want that persons aren't enjoying the content and they start reporting your ads. They start reporting the content, right? They're like, oh, another AI piece of content. No. We want that they're like, oh, it's AI, but this is funny though, And that's what we're seeing with, again, like the animal podcast and the this and the that. And so it's either adding value, so this is the AI twin, and reframing beliefs and giving them a different view on things that works in their favor, because again, it's all about them, it's all about people and what they want. And then the other side of it would be, again, to hit on some other emotions such as humor, for instance, making persons laugh, making them feel something with the AI avatars, the animals and so forth, right? And that way the platform will then will have no choice but to give you more reach, and to not limit your stuff, because it's getting a good response on their platform, which means that it's leaving it's keeping persons on the platform longer, and that's all the platform wants. That's how they get paid. They literally get paid by keeping people on the platform longer. So if your ad and your AI avatar and your AI influencer, or whatever the case is keeping persons on the platform longer, whether that's organically or paid, by all means, you should be good to go, right? But just consider the fact that some platforms do have some bias and limitations. In some cases, you even have to say that this is AI generated, or this is AI info. So for instance, on Instagram, you have to say that it's AI info and label it as that. For some of the ads, some platforms, you have to do that as well, and so forth, right? And that's just where we're at right now, and that's fine, right? And then the last thing is, as we mentioned before, it's a business. This is not a get rich quick. Yes, there are some persons who are definitely not getting rich quick, but seeing some returns, seeing some money coming, some revenue really pumping and just coming in. No doubt about that, right? And some views, especially. Like you can get a lot of views, go viral and stuff much quicker now, right? But it is a business. We're not looking at the one-off video and the one-off win and the one-off jump in revenue. No, no. We're looking at having something again as consistent, that is predictable, right? That can literally has scaling potential. That's what we're looking for. Because whether this window is open for a couple months, this opportunity, or a couple years, we want that, hey, you have reached a point that again is consistent monthly revenue for you, your family, your people, and you can do what you need to do and take care of people, and take care of the people you love. And that's really the goal here, right? So it's a business, not a get rich quick. It's not a side hustle, and you need to treat it as though it's a business, because that makes literally all the difference when you're doing something like this. So I hope this made sense. In the coming videos, we're going to next couple of videos, sorry, we're going to talk about really the ways you can stand out based on what we have here, right? Making it very simple, as I said, and clear cut. Of course, some of them might have already come to mind based on this, but now you can connect the dots and make it very simple. Okay, you need to do this, 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 and this is what will help you to stand out and stay out of everyone else's way and niche, and generally, again, create a business and a credible, reliable source of income that generally pays you in the short and the long term. So, see you in the next business.